Hallelujah. Okay, so I'm making sure that I can see any kind of comments here in this space. Um, I believe you guys can finally hear me. Hallelujah. Um, making sure we can hear. Okay. So now that I know you guys can hear, hi, Katie here. I'm, recording to places where you guys know me well, so I don't think that we need a crazy introduction. Today we're going to talk about something that I am so excited about, y'all. So excited about. Not excited that you're experiencing it, but excited about talking about preventing it, having a healthy relationship with it, being able to utilize it in a way that's good instead of like destructive or like pain inducing. We're talking about stress, y'all. We're talking about stress. I'm going to share a little bit of my journey. For some of you, this is not new. A beautiful reminder. I get you. I get how like so many of you have shared your own story around stress, chronic pain. My story I'm so grateful to God. My story has been used in so many ways where you guys have been deeply inspired and have related so much to it. And so want to, keep that moving and keep that going and being able to answer as many questions as I can, being able to support as many people as I can around stress and chronic pain and all of these different things that are a huge struggle for many, many, many of you. Adjusting the mic a little bit here. There we go. So we're going to talk about a key framework that I always think about when I think when I think about stress, especially in the last couple years as I have been able to actually get out of chronic pain, to be able to, wake up in the morning and not be in pain, go to bed at night and not be in pain, be in the middle of the day, in the middle of my work day and not be in pain. I'm again so grateful. And I've learned a lot of things on the way because, the doctors wanted to give me medication, tried it many times. And while it did help with the pain, a lot of times it changed my personality. Some of you know this who've been on medication, changes their personality, has us really feel pretty. And I promise you, Katie is not necessarily a Katie that you're going to want to be around because I'm just kind of like, I don't know, whatever. I don't care. So I've been through that roadmap, but I want to talk more broadly. So instead of just specifically to those of you who have dealt with chronic pain, I want to talk more specifically or less specifically. I want to talk to the many of you that have a unhealthy relationship with stress. Now, hi, only you can identify that. Only you can tell me if your relationship with stress is unhealthy. Only you can listen to the signs of people saying, hey, like you've been at that for 10 hours now and really haven't taken a break. Only you can be present to the people in your life that are telling you this is a concern, or you yourself experiencing, hey, this is a concern. I'm going to tell you some of the symptoms that I experienced. We're not strangers to this idea of burnout. We're not strangers to this idea of chronic pain. More and more younger people, for some of you, your children are more likely in the current world that we live in to develop chronic pain conditions than any other generation before them. I used to think that chronic pain was this thing that only old people got because their body was breaking. Come to find out, by the time I hit adulthood, I was having chronic pain and I had it for 6 years before I figured out the formula of things for my body. I say that on purpose in that way because each of you will have a different set of things that will support you in really transitioning from that chronic pain season of your life to not having pain, waking up in the morning and feeling amazing, going to bed at night and feeling, tired, but in like the best kind of way and getting a beautiful night's sleep. Stress has a way of inducing a lot of different types of symptoms. For some of us, it's chronic pain. For other people, it is tension in relationships. It is a short temper. It is anxiety and depression. It could be bad sleep. It could be a lack of focus. It could be a lot of things. And we get to talk about it. And we get to stop making people pay money to talk about it. We get to talk about it. Like, I have a commitment. I can't tell you how many people have tried to sell me stuff to give me answers about stress. The medical fields did it too, right? It's like, here, pay this amount of money for this medication and it will fix you. I'm not going to tell you why, but it'll fix it. I wanted to know why. I was frustrated with the answers that I was being given because they were open-ended and vague. I wanted to understand, why am I experiencing stress? What is actually going on that I am putting myself here? And I want people to be asking those questions, because our creativity, our purpose, our story, all of that depends on our current relationship with where we are in relationship to where we want to go and where we've been. And if we're in this place of fight and flight and freeze, we're in this place of like, I am in so much pain or I'm in so much stress that I can't see past my own nose, then we're not actually in that place where we even have the capacity to give and be generous to others. And so those two things are not impossible. You can absolutely be in pain or in high levels of stress and give. I see people, I mean, some of my greatest role models have, are in a wheelchair for their whole life and are some of the most influential, inspiring people I've ever met in my life. Johnny Erickson Todd, I think some of you have heard me tell this story. Like, getting to meet her, she was like my role model. She was like everything. And she's still in a wheelchair. She's still paralyzed. And yet she's one of the most influential, incredible, inspiring people I've ever met. And it was a privilege to get to stand next to her in her wheelchair and know that she is so incredibly inspiring, even though there is a limitation, especially because there is a limitation. So for some of you who are having a lot of symptoms or have high anxiety, or you've been diagnosed with different things and you're like, this limits me from being purposeful, being impactful, being influential, I want you to get that out of your head, because that's not true. And actually embracing where you are is part of how important and incredible your story could be. That is going to be a theme for this month. I've learned so much about surrender, about acceptance, understanding that where I am is a part of my story, and being content and being willing to actually learn the lessons that are here in this moment are actually a part of the story. How exciting. And I also know that stress can be something that's really discouraging, and it can be something that runs your life. Let me know if that's where you're at. Like, it runs your life. Is this going to put on too much stress? Is this going to put me over? I mean, I remember a season in my life where literally I had to decide, like, can I go to this social thing because I really want to? And I was like beating myself up for being the kind of person that was always going to bed early and always, had no momentum, had no energy for anything. But I knew that if I went to that thing, it would put me over the top, just like everything else. And so I wouldn't go. I know what it's like to have stress and pain and all of the consequences of my stress be defining my life. So the point of doing this training, this live with you all, is to start answering some of those questions, start really digging underneath what is our stress really about and how can we look at it in a way that is really supportive. This is super casual, sitting here in my chair with y'all. My laptop is on my bed right now. The sun is shining. It is 70 degrees outside in February in Michigan. Like, I have a friend that lives out in Washington State, and she's like, yo, it's snowing today. So I don't know what is happening with the world, but it's fun. I have your comments here that I'm taking a peek at, and we're just going to dive into this. I'm so excited to share this with you all that we're just going to jump in. So the first thing that I want you to think about is that you have an X amount of resources. A lot of people don't want to look at our body that way because they want to be like, we're limitless. We're limitless. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're not limitless. That was a big, big, big aha for me. That was a big lesson for me. We're not limitless. We have limits. Can those limits change? Can our capacity for things grow? Absolutely. But we do have limits. And that's actually a part of what keeps us safe. And it's a part of us being a human being. Like, we have limits. I have limits. I don't have hands. I've had, structural stuff with my hips and knees and ankles for my entire life. There are certain things that I am just not going to do because it would be stupid for me to do them. You know your own limits, right? We have limits. But a lot of times we pretend like we don't. And I think a lot of, like, in the world that we live in right now, being of the belief that you are limitless is actually a part of the stress that you're putting on yourself. Because listen, you have an X amount of resources, and those X amount of resources are combined in different categories of you as a human being. So mental, emotional, physical, you can categorize it any way you want. I have like a lot of categories because I love categories, but I always think about kind of the three main ones. We've got physical, emotional, and mental. And these three things are the most common categories. There's a lot of other categories. I was in a business build out that had 6 or 7, I believe, 7. So there's a lot of different uh, categories or accumulation of different things. So use the one that relates to you. Some people put spiritual in there. Some people put social. I talk about social a lot, so we can talk about that as well. But you have categories, and in each of those categories, you have stress, right? So you have mental stress, you have emotional stress, you have social stress, right? You have physical stress, you have environmental stress, right? What's happening around you? What are the conditions of where you live and where you exist? So there's all of these different categories of you as a human being that you interact with. And each of these components have a level of stress. And when you use your resources in each of those categories, you hit a limit where you've used all of the resources that are there, and now you're in the negative. And when you're in the negative, what happens is we start accumulating stress. Our body doesn't have time or the resources to replenish what we've used. And so this is why I say our stress patterns are like how we use money. We spend what we don't have. We think, well, if I spend this thing that I don't actually have, then I'm just going to create it back plus some, and I'll be rich and I'll be limitless. And there's a lack of responsibility in this, but there's also stress, chronic pain, anxiety, depression, fear, all of these things that come up as the byproduct of how we are spending our resources. So I want you to think about the resources that you have: your energy, your time, your mental capacity, your physical capacity, your muscle strength. I want you to actually make a list. So when you're done with this live, like, actually make a list of the different resources that you have available to you: your mind, your ability to be social and interact with people, your communication skills, your creativity, the questions that you ask. Just like name all of the things, right? These are all resources that you have available to you. But the more you use your resources, the less that is there before it's replenished. Different types of people replenish differently. I replenish by sleeping and resting my body. I replenish by having a good night's sleep. I replenish by taking a nap. I replenish by switching activities. And if I'm pushing my brain a lot, then I switch to a different activity and I do something else. you get to figure out how you replenish. Each of you actually know how you replenish. I want you to sit and think about it. Like, ooh, in the past, when I've had like a hard day or a hard morning and I've done a lot of things, how did I actually rest and rejuvenate my energy, my mental capacity? Oh, well, I took a walk outside, or I ate some food, or whatever, right? And every time we actively do something to replenish, we're also putting a level of stress on our body, but it's a different kind of stress from a different category. And so it's all about that balance in a way that's actually tangible. I have a friend who teaches this in a beautiful way. And if any of you want to learn more about stress and the levels of stress and how to equalize stress, I'll definitely send you his direction because he's awesome. And I learned a lot of my own stress from him. But when it comes to you being purposeful, you being creative, you being inspiring, you being inspired, coming to your business and your spaces from a place of, oh, I feel alive and excited and like, this is so amazing, right? Coming from that place means that you get to be really mindful about what you've used and how you've given yourself the time to replenish. Most of the time, we're creating stress on our bodies that's going into the red zone because we're not actually replenishing. We're expecting our body to give, and never give back. We go out and have late nights socializing, and then we wake up the next day expecting our brain to function in like high performance mode. And then we expect our physical body to digest properly. And yet we've put all this strain and stress on our body in all of the different categories, how they very much impact each other. And now we've shot ourselves in the foot. So I want you to understand that you are using resources. Those resources can absolutely replenish themselves, but you get to give yourself the space and time and rest to actually replenish. Now, some of you may be asking the question, okay, well, Katie, how do I expand my capacity for resources? How do I build more resources so that I can use more, so that I can have that flexibility and spontaneity that I'm looking for? And this is really fun, y'all, because when I first was going through chronic pain, I had very, very, very little capacity for stress. Healthy stress, unhealthy stress. I had very, very little capacity for anything that was remotely exerting any part of my body because my body was in such heightened strain that it couldn't take anything. And so it was just a lot of rest. It was a lot of trying to sleep and, it was hard. But what was cool is watching how my capacity very slowly and slowly and slowly started to build. And here's how it started to build: a little bit of stress, rest. A little bit of more stress, rest. A little bit of more stress, rest. This is a lot of times how people work out. They build up higher and higher, heavier and heavier, bigger and bigger, right? So if you're lifting weights, you have this system in which you lift weights. You go up to the top as like heavy as you can go, and then you come down. And then sometimes they'll do that multiple times. You go up and you go down, and then you go up and then you go down. But you don't go from like 50-pound weights to 500-pound weights, right? So like you have that 500 pounds. Woo. You have that build up and that build down. Now, to be fair, I've never lifted weights. I don't want to even think about what that would look like. I am not a lifting weights kind of girl. I'm not explaining that from lived experience. I'm explaining it from having brothers who weight lift and knowing people who weight lift, and it's a beautiful example of what we're talking about right now. But it's also a beautiful, like, there's lots of places where we work up to something and we do a little bit more and then we come back down, and we work up to it and we do a little bit more and we come back down. And this is the same way that we build resilience and capacity in our physical body and our mental body and our emotional body, socially, environmentally, all of these different categories that you may choose for you as a human being. We get to build up resilience towards those things. Stress is such a common issue in the world that we don't even have the capacity to thoughtfully use it. We haven't even given ourselves the gift of being able to strategically utilize stress as a way to create resiliency in our life. because we feel so overwhelmed and so overstressed that any next thing that we put on top of us is going to have us crumble. And so it's time to start pausing, taking a minute, taking a breath, and looking at all the different areas of your life where you are creating stress, 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 and more stress, and how you get to start to lower that overall line that's building and building and building, bringing it down to a place where it can be at this neutral space of, I'm using stress, I'm building that resiliency, but I'm giving myself the space to replenish, to renourish, to rest. What does this look like? Well, there's some things that we do a lot of times in life that end up disturbing our sleep, discouraging our bodies from replenishing, taking resources before, we've actually given it the time to replenish or rest. And so I want to talk very briefly about those, and then we'll wrap this up pretty quickly. I'm going to make a video that's a little bit more clickbaity, as we would say, working on getting this information ranked in a way where people get it. They get it in their dashboards, they get it on their screens, and hopefully it'll be the last video they watch for a few hours because they've gone and taken some time to rest and renourish and replenish. So I'm going to talk about mental stress for a second when it comes to the things that we get stuck on. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of the other ones, like physical stress. Mental stress impacts physical stress a lot. And this is a great example because many of you are doing this. The first thing that comes to mind is, where are we not allowing our brain to take a break? Where are we utilizing resources in our brain that we don't think we're utilizing, and yet we're utilizing them? Scrolling forever and ever, the endless scroll on social media. You may have scrolled past this video many, many times until you actually listened in on it. And I want you to notice how much mental exertion you were actually expending and what was the result that you were creating. It's insane to me. There's a study that came out the beginning of this year that says it's projected that people will spend an equivalent of 44 years of their life staring at screens. I get that a lot of us work on computers and we make money off of the internet. I know I do. And it means that it is so critical and so incredibly important that on our downtime, in our social life, in our rest time, in our wind downs and wind ups, that we are being very vigilant about how we are using technology, how we are using the internet, how we're using social media. They can be incredible tools. I am endlessly grateful that I have the opportunity every single day to get in front of a new person and share the value that I have to bring to the world. I am so grateful that I have that privilege. It is absolutely a privilege. And I always know that it's like, you can never assume that your relationship with technology is healthy. Don't ever assume that. Check in with yourself. That's so going to be a rant very soon. Oh man, I can see a reel right now. Don't ever assume that your relationship with social media, with the internet, with digital communication is healthy. Because the reality is, whenever we assume, we aren't giving ourselves the opportunity to actually take a deeper look, to dive in and look a layer deeper. So a lot of times, our endless scroll, our unconscious mental exertion around social media and the internet, especially in our downtime, is actually impacting our sleep, which is impacting our physical body. And that is actually increasing our stress levels and decreasing our tolerance and our resilience level to actually adjust, to be able to have that grace. Our body actually has so much grace. Y'all, your body can handle what you're throwing at it, unless you're throwing at it before you're ever giving yourself the opportunity to replenish. Your body can take a social night here and there. Your body can take a late night and like a different sleep schedule here and there. Your body actually can recover from the things that you want to do, but the way in which you're leading yourself up to that is what's stopping you from actually believing that that's true or experiencing that in your real body. I used to be the person that I would literally instantly get a migraine if if my sleep was off at all. I couldn't eat cheese because I would get a migraine, and like such little things. My body used to be hypersensitive to everything because I had such high stress levels, like craziness. And the reality is, your body actually is capable of handling the spontaneity that you want to have. But because our stress levels are so high, our body's like, no, I can't take another thing. No, no, no. So it's about bringing those stress levels down in all of the different spaces and places so that we can be spontaneous. We can have that night out. We can have that, a little bit later sleep schedule, or, wanting to do that fun thing on the weekend, right? We absolutely can do that. But you may feel like you can't do that right now because your body is in so much tension and strain and stress. So just notice that. That's the price that you're paying right now to having really, really high levels of stress. There are lots of ways that you can reduce your stress. I won't really know unless I talk to you. So absolutely DM me wherever I am. If you're on YouTube, go to Instagram. If you're on Facebook, fine, go to Facebook DMs. I love Instagram's my platform of choice. So YouTubers, hey, move to Instagram. Come visit me. I'm Katie G Stowe wherever you find me. KATIE GSTOWE. You can go find me on Instagram. YouTube, I know that I've linked it all over the place, so you'll find it there. And then Facebookers, hey, like digital message me on this. Really like get in my DMs, be loud, be proud. Like I am experiencing high levels of stress. I need help. And I absolutely will support you. And you may be a great fit for some of my memberships or offers. But, and firstly, I want to make sure that you are served well, that you are taken care of, and that you have actual answers that you can go and implement immediately. So that if you come back and you're like, oh my goodness, that really worked, I want to lean in deeper, you can. And if that doesn't work for you or it doesn't serve you in the way that you would like it to, you can go find somebody else. And honestly, like if I give you something and it doesn't work the way you thought it was going to, or it doesn't serve you, then I will find somebody else to come support you, because stress is something that we get to have a handle on. And we don't just get to be in this maintenance relationship with it. We actually get to understand why it's happening and how to revert why it's happening, and to understand what's actually going on. What are we doing that we're feeling and experiencing so much stress in a way that is taking over our lives? It's like, I'm over it. I hope you're over it too. I'm so grateful the relationship that I have with my body and my stress levels and all the things that I've learned to do, the way that I can live my life, the way that I can be spontaneous, to have social experiences, to be spontaneous, to have fun. Like, I love that I can do that and also take care of my body and have my body take care of me. And that may not be the case for you. And I want you to be there. Like, more than anything, I want you to be there. So if this video has been at all beneficial to you, if there's anything that you've learned that has struck a chord, that has, made your mind think, well, what if I really could have this life of like, I can be spontaneous, I can rest, I can take care of myself, and I can have a healthy relationship with my stress, please come find me somewhere. I will so support you. I will give you tools before you may not be a fit for any of my offers. I don't care. I will give you tools. I will be in your corner. I will support you, because it is my commitment that people have the tools and the answers that they need to have to reduce our stress. I know that people who are generous, who are change makers, who are purposeful, who are living a purpose-filled life, are the people who have a handle on their stress. Because if you're in stress, then it's hard to think past your own nose, because we're in so much distress when we have very, very high stress levels. Okay. I hope that was really supportive to you, and come find me in all the places and spaces. I will see you on the next video.